Hi everyone, I am FBP, Faith Based Pilot, and today I'm going over a topic I know I've written about in the past. However, it is such an important topic that I want to do a audio of this because I know some people prefer to listen to the teachings versus reading them. So this is for that targeted demographic, but I please do stay because maybe it's been a minute or you haven't read it. And if you have the time to listen, please do. So today's topic is going to be going over what is a Jezebelian spirit, how to recognize one, how to guard against one, and ultimately, at the end of it all, we're going to go over how to forgive this Jezebelian spirit. So, it's a term that often stirs up discussions and disagreements. It's a term that represents different things to different people. Some see it as a symbol of manipulation and conflict, while in contrast, others view it as a sign of empowerment or a way to label certain behaviors. It's a term that carries mystery and controversy, sparking curiosity and debate. So, understanding the Jezebelian spirit means diving into its history, religious meanings, and how it's interpreted today. So, the aim here is to explain the Jezebelian spirit and its origins to its modern applications. So, I would really like to shed light on this intriguing concept by digging into its complexities and controversies. Okay, so the Jezebelian spirit is a term derived from biblical references, specifically from the story of Queen Jezebel in the Old Testament. It symbolizes complex traits and behaviors typically associated with manipulation, control, and seduction. In the Bible, we are shown that Queen Jezebel was a powerful and cunning woman who exercised control and influences, often through manipulation and deceit. Her actions were destructive and morally corrupt, leading to conflicts and turmoil. Over time, this term, Jezebelian spirit, has been used in religious and cultural contexts to describe similar individual characteristics. Traits like manipulation, seduction, a hunger for power, and a willingness to employ deceit to achieve personal or nefarious goals. However, interpretations of the Jezebelian spirit can vary widely. Some view it as a metaphor for female empowerment that challenges the patriarchy or traditional male dominance. In contrast, others perceive it strictly as an imposing force that disrupts harmony and seeks to control or undermine authority. It's vital to recognize this because history has seen misinterpretations of Bible teachings, and I firmly stand against the distorting of the Word of God to condone societal transgressions or sinful behavior. As Queen of Israel, during her husband Ahab's reign, Jezebel wielded considerable power and influence. Her actions were marked by a determined and often harsh approach, manipulating the political landscape to align with her beliefs. Notably, she actively promoted Baal worship, a foreign religious practice condemned in the Israelite nation and their traditions. Under her influence, altars and temples to Baal were erected, and she supported priests devoted to this deity, seeking to supplant the worship of Yahweh, the God of Israel. Her reign saw a deliberate campaign to suppress the worship of the Lord, leading to confrontations with the prophets of God, particularly the famed encounters with the prophet Elijah. These confrontations serve as a vivid demonstration of her opposition to the established religious orders. She fiercely defended her beliefs and used her position of authority to intimidate and persecute those who opposed her, leading to a period of religious strife and persecution in Israel. Jezebel's determination to promote Baal worship and her ruthless suppression of Yahweh's prophets entrenched her legacy as a figure who challenged the religious and moral fabric of Israelite society. Her actions, particularly her fervent advocacy for a foreign religion and her antagonism towards established religious beliefs, were central to the narrative that led to her tragic and prophesied demise. Ultimately, Jezebel met a tragic and prophesied demise by Elijah. According to biblical accounts in the Book of Kings, her demise came through a sequence of events orchestrated by God's divine judgment. I'm probably more than likely going to butcher these biblical names, so for that I do apologize. So when Jehu, a military commander, was anointed as king, he set out to eliminate the influence of the house of Ahab. Jezebel, knowing the impending danger, adorned herself and confronted Jehu from a palace window during this period. Jehu ordered her execution, resulted in Jezebel being thrown from the window. Her fall led to her death, and her body was subsequently trampled by horses at Jehu's command, fulfilling the prophecy of her demise due to her wicked actions in defiance against Yahweh. Jezebel's death served as a symbolic end to an era of religious and political turmoil in Israel. In today's landscape, the Jezebelian spirit concept is referenced within discussions on behaviors mirroring traits attributed to Queen Jezebel in the Bible. These traits, like manipulation, deceit, and quest for power, often serve as cautionary symbols against moral corruption. However, interpretations of this term can be multifaceted, sometimes leading to its misapplication. In certain instances, the label is loosely attached to assertive or confident individuals, especially women, regardless of their moral intent or ethical conduct. This broad brush application risks misunderstanding and diluting the concepts of significance, blurring its relevance in identifying the genuine moral transgressions. Acknowledging the historical and religious significance of the Jezebelian spirit as a warning against moral corruption is crucial. Yet, misattributing these terms to behaviors devoid of defining characteristics contributes to misunderstanding the biblical teachings. It's essential to avoid oversimplification or misrepresentation, especially when applying such religious symbolism in societal contexts. Mislabeling behaviors without factual basis or spiritual discernment deviates from the intended purpose of this exemplary symbol and risks misguiding the individual seeking moral guidance. Societal norms and cultural biases sometimes exploit religious terminology, employing it to discredit or stigmatize particular groups. Using biblical concepts such as the Jezebelian spirit to undermine or stereotype individuals often contradicts the foundational Christian principles of comparison, understanding, and fair judgment. This misuse can lead to unjust stigmatization or reinforce societal prejudices, straying from the core values espoused within Christian teachings. Authentically, identifying manifestations of the Jezebelian spirit in contemporary society requires discernment grounded in an accurate understanding of its biblical context. Maintaining a balanced perspective while applying religious symbolism necessitates avoiding hasty generalizations or using these terms to perpetuate biases. This approach upholds the integrity of biblical principles, ensuring their application aligns with moral teachings while refraining from unjustly condemning individuals or groups based on societal misconceptions or biases. Therefore, a thoughtful approach to interpreting the Jezebelian spirit in modern times demands a nuanced understanding, recognizing its biblical significance without falling prey to misinterpretations or societal prejudices. The subtle approach not only preserves the integrity of religious teachings but also fosters a more compassionate and just interpretation of behaviors within contemporary contexts. You might be curious about the specifics of recognizing a Jezebelian spirit in contemporary settings. That's where I'm going to say, hold on. That's up next. So, in recognizing a Jezebelian spirit, identifying this spirit in modern times requires navigating the intricate layers of behavior, influence, and manipulation. It's often shrouded in subtlety. This spirit embodies a complex web of traits that infiltrate relationships, institutions, and communities. So, as we continue this conversation, it becomes a pivotal uh, point to authentically discern these traits from a place of understanding rather than presumption, unveiling the distinct exploration that combines psychological insights with a keen awareness of societal dynamics and interpersonal behaviors. So, what we're aiming to do is to illuminate this elusive but impactful phenomenon in our present day interactions and contexts by peeling away the layers. So, within this intricate web of behaviors characterizing a Jezebelian spirit, several subcategories are intricately woven to define its manipulative and controlling nature. These subcategories encapsulate tactics employed by individuals embodying this spirit, highlighting their manipulation, exploitation, and control methods. From a psychological manipulation tactics to patterns of narcissistic behavior, fragmentation, and division strategies to infiltration of positions of power, each subcategory unveils distinct yet interwoven facets of the Jezebelian spirit's pervasive influence. So, by dissecting these behavioral subcategories, we delve into the intricate mechanisms through which this spirit exerts its control and distorts relationships, institutions, and communities. Okay, so psychological manipulation tactics. Excuse me. Gaslighting and the Jezebelian spirit. So, gaslighting aligns with the Jezebelian spirit's inclination towards manipulation and control. By distorting reality and undermining others' perceptions, individuals embodying this spirit seek to exert power over their victims. This tactic sows doubt, enabling the manipulator to assert dominance and control within relationships or settings. And before I continue, I do want to specify it's being a Jezebel or having the Jezebel spirit isn't confined to just being a woman. It's can be a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. So let's please continue. Guilt tripping in the spirit, or in this spirit, using guilt as a manipulation tool resonates deeply within the Jezebelian spirit's tendency to exert dominance and influence over others. These individuals seek to elicit compliance and submission from their targets by inducing guilt and leveraging emotional vulnerabilities to maintain control and achieve their objectives. Then we have emotional blackmail. So it's again another tool to manipulate and coerce others into meeting their demands. It aligns with their desire for control, often used to enforce compliance and maintain their perceived authority of superiority in relationships or within social circles. Selective disclosure and distortion of information. So the deliberate manipulation of information and narrative resonates with the spirit's penchant for controlling perceptions. By selectively disclosing information or distorting facts, these individuals aim to share opinions, influence decisions, and maintain a facade that supports their agenda while concealing their true intentions or actions. So they charm and manipulate, and they do have a manipulative charisma. So this characteristic and charming demeanor of the Jezebelian spirit serves, again, another tool. What's this? 6 maybe? I lost count. So they leverage their charm to establish a rapport, gain trust, and manipulate others more effectively. This charm becomes a facade that conceals their manipulative intentions, allowing them to exert influence without raising suspicion. So, when analyzed with the traits and behaviors of a Jezebelian spirit, these manipulation tactics reveal a pattern of calculated control, dominance, and manipulation aimed at fulfilling their desires and maintaining power over others. So that would, yeah, I stand corrected. That was 5. So next we're going to look at the pattern of narcissistic behavior, grandiosity and superiority complex within the Jezebelian spirit. So grandiose behavior aligns with the Jezebelian spirit's inclination towards dominance and control. This inflated self-importance helps them maintain a facade of superiority, reinforcing their perceived authority and enabling them to assert more dominance over others within relationships or societal contexts. Lack of empathy and self-centeredness. So the absence of empathy resonates deeply and focuses on their desires and goals. Their self-centered nature allows them to prioritize their needs over others, contributing to their manipulative tactics and tendencies and their ability to exploit relationships for personal gain or control. Well, usually personal gain and control. Next, sense of entitlement and manipulative exploitation. So, the strong sense of entitlement of those embodying the Jezebelian spirit correlates with their manipulative behavior. They feel entitled to special treatment or compliance and use manipulation to achieve their objectives without considering the impact on others, fitting into the pattern of control and dominance they seek to maintain. Next, inability to handle criticism or rejection. So, their extreme reactions to criticism or rejection often reflect the inability to accept challenges to their perceived superiority. This defensive response safeguards their inflated self image and reinforces their perceived dominance, further solidifying their control over interpersonal dynamics. Manipulative control over others' perceptions. So, the meticulous management of their image aligns with the Jezebelian spirit's inclination to manipulate perceptions. They carefully craft their persona to maintain control over how others perceive them, using this control to reinforce their dominance in work situations to their advantage. These narcissistic behaviors, when examined in connection with the traits commonly associated with the Jezebelian spirit, reveal a pattern of self-centeredness, manipulation, and a relentless pursuit of control and dominance in relationships and broader social contexts. Understanding these behaviors provides insight into the I can't speak now, into the mechanisms by which Jezebelian spirit operates and how it influences individuals and communities. All right, next we have fragmentation and division. So, creating polarization and fostering conflict. So, the Jezebelian spirit thrives on creating polarization and conflict. They establish an environment of discord within relationships or groups by magnifying differences and exploiting disagreements. The strategy serves their goal of maintaining control by fragmenting unity and fostering an atmosphere of tension and division. Manipulative tactics to pit people against each other in a Jezebelian spirit. So, individuals embodying this spirit use manipulative tactics that aligns with their desire for control and power. By fostering hatred and rivalry, they create a chaotic environment where they can maintain their influence by playing off the resulting conflicts. Next, they undermine trust and foster mistrust. So, this spirit undermines trust intentionally, sowing seeds of doubt and suspicion among individuals. Engaging in deceitful behaviors or withholding information erodes trusts, leading to breakdown in relationships and preventing unity within groups and communities. So, that usually is then often paired with gaslighting. So what they'll do there is, oh, this didn't happen this way, it actually happened this way. Meanwhile, you're standing there wondering, like, how did we even get here? So next we have exploiting vulnerabilities and dividing alliances in the Jezebelian spirit. Those embodying a Jezebelian spirit commonly employ exploitation of vulnerabilities. They identify weaknesses within relationships or groups, exploiting them to create divisions and weaken alliances. This tactic serves their aim of maintaining control by preventing solidarity among those they seek to influence, fostering a culture of instability and disunity in the Jezebelian spirit. So the spirit perpetuates an environment of instability and disunity to maintain control. By enabling chaos and amplifying tensions, they prevent cohesion and unity, thus perpetuating an environment where they can wield their influence unchallenged. So, in summary, the Jezebelian spirit's tendencies to employ manipulative tactics, undermine trust, exploit vulnerabilities, and foster an environment of conflict, disunity aligns with their overarching goal of maintaining control and dominance within relationships, communities, or organizational settings. These behaviors fragment unity, disrupt harmony, and perpetuate an atmosphere of discord for their benefit. Next, infiltration in positions of power. Strategic pursuit of power. So, individuals embodying the spirit strategically pursue positions of authority to fulfill their desire for control and dominance. Their calculated approach aligns with their overarching goal of securing positions that afford them the power to manipulate and influence others. So, exploitation of hierarchical structures. So, once in positions of power, those embodying the spirit exploit these hierarchical structures to maintain control. They manipulate organizational dynamics, favoring the individuals who align with their objectives, while marginalizing the dissenters or challengers. So again, this is going to reinforce their control and dominance. Next, the abuse of authority for manipulation. Individuals embodying the spirit, they aim to enforce a compliance and silence their opposition, maintaining an environment where their authority remains unchallenged. Next, isolation and undermining of competitors or challengers. So the spirit, they often isolate or undermine competitors or challengers to safeguard their dominance within society, ensuring their continued control and influence. Next, exploiting organizational resources for personal gain. So within the organizations, they misuse the resources to serve their interests rather than the organization's goals. This aligns with their self centered nature, using their position of power to secure unwarranted privileges or benefits for themselves and their allies. Next, they create a culture of fear and dependency. So, this fear based culture ensures compliance and reinforces their dominance, with their tendency to control interpersonal dynamics to maintain authority. So, The behaviors associated with seeking or misusing positions of power align with the overarching characteristics of the Jezebelian spirit, which revolve around control and manipulation, and the relentless pursuit of dominance within the hierarchical organization settings. So, spiritual and religious contexts of the spirit. So, the biblical portrayal of Jezebel as a figure of manipulation and idolatry and control resonates with the traits commonly associated with the spirit. Her influence over King Ahab and her role in promoting practices contrary to the monotheistic beliefs reflect to the spirit's tendency to manipulate and distort spiritual principles for personal gain or control. Symbolism and interpretations. So, the spirit, as understood in spiritual contexts, embodies traits similar to those attributed to the Jezebel in the biblical narratives and the Jezebel that lived historically. So it symbolizes a force that opposes righteousness, manipulates spiritual beliefs, and fosters discord within religious communities. This aligns with using charisma or influence to control or distort spiritual truths. Okay, so let's look at the relevance of the Jezebelian spirit, or rather, the relevance to today's time. So the relevance here in modern times manifests through its perceived influence in individuals or systems that manipulate religious principles for personal gain or control. It mirrors the cautionary tale of Jezebel's actions, warnings against the dangers of allowing such spirits or behaviors to disrupt spiritual harmony or compromise faith for personal agendas. Let's look at some of the lessons and warnings. So, uh, in the biblical writings of Jezebel, or biblical writings written of Jezebel, serves as a warning against the dangers of manipulation, idolatry, and spiritual compromise. This aligns with the warnings associated with the Jezebelian spirit, emphasizing the importance of discernment, staying true to spiritual principles, and guarding against the influences that distort spiritual truth for personal gain or control. So, looking at the contemporary interpretations, so, the modern spiritual teachings, the Jezebelian spirit is often used as a metaphor for toxic behaviors that disrupt spiritual harmony or as a caution against individuals manipulating religious or spiritual beliefs for control. It's referenced as a reminder to safeguard against these influences that undermine spiritual growth and communal harmony, echoing the cautionary tale of Jezebel's actions in the biblical narratives. All right, so to summarize, the concept of the Jezebel spirit, rooted in biblical narratives and interpreted across various spiritual contexts, embodies traits and behaviors that aligned with the cautionary tale of Jezebel. An important conversation that needs to be had regarding this is also the impact on mental health. So, confusion and cognitive dissonance in victims of a Jezebelian spirit. The manipulative tactics employed by those embodying a Jezebelian spirit often result in confusion and cognitive dissonance in their victims. The discrepancy between the manipulator's charming facade and their manipulative behaviors cause internal conflict, aligning with the spirit's tendency to project a false image while engaging in deceitful actions. And usually, that those deceitful actions is making the Jezebelian spirit's victim look like they were the Jezebel spirit inhabited. So, emotional trauma and psychological distress from the Jezebelian spirit. The emotional trauma and psychological distress inflicted by this spirit aligns with their manipulative behaviors. Victims often experience anxiety, depression, and emotional exhaustion due to the constant manipulation and psychological abuse, reflecting the spirit's tendency to exploit and control for their gain. So, undermining self confidence and self doubt. So, encounters with the spirit lead to victims experiencing damaged self confidence and increased doubt. So, the constant gaslighting and manipulation tactics that the spirit uses erodes the victim's self worth and confidence, aligning with the spirit's tendency to control and diminish others' sense of self. Next is increased stress and anxiety. So, the victims often endure heightened stress and anxiety due to the toxic environment created by the manipulator's actions. The pervasive manipulation and uncertainty caused by the spirit's tactics contribute to the chronic stress and heightened anxiety levels in victims. Looking at the social isolation and relationship strain. So, the Jezebelian spirit manipulative tactics often lead to strained relationships and social isolation for victims. Gaslighting and manipulation may strain relationships as victims struggle to explain their experiences to others, aligning with the spirit's tendency to create division and isolate individuals. So looking at the long-term effects on mental health stemming from this, so the enduring impact on mental health from the encounters and its long-term effects include trust issues, difficulties forming new relationships, and lasting emotional scars. These align with the spirit's overarching goal of maintaining control and dominance, which have a lasting effect on the victim's mental health even after the encounter has ended. So, in essence, the impacts on mental health stemming from the encounters with the Jezebelian spirit directly correlate with manipulative, controlling, and divisive behaviors commonly associated with this spirit. These impacts reflect the spirit's tendencies to undermine, control, and manipulate individuals for their gain, resulting in profound and lasting effects on victims' mental well being. All right, that's a whole lot of negative, right? But let's look at resistance and healing. So, recognizing manipulative behaviors. So, recognizing this is directly linked to identifying the traits of the Jezebelian spirit. Awareness of their manipulation, gaslighting, and control aligns with the spirit's tendency to deceive, manipulate, and exploit others for personal gain or dominance. Establishing firm boundaries and the Jezebelian spirit. So, setting and enforcing boundaries are crucial, obviously, to resist the influence of the spirit, but it's easier said than done. It does take time, a little bit of time to learn and become comfortable with no longer having that person in your life. So this aligns with the spirit's inclination to disregard boundaries and exploit vulnerabilities. That's why firm boundaries prevent manipulative individuals from encroaching on personal space or control. Developing emotional intelligence to counter this spirit. So emotional intelligence aids in resisting this manipulation because it stands for it. Excuse me. So we're then going to be able to understand emotions, motivations, and vulnerabilities that helps discern manipulative tactics and respond assertively to counter attempts at control or deceit. Cultivating critical thinking. So if we should be encouraging critical thinking within communities because it's going to help resist manipulation of this Jezebel spirit. Critical thinking fosters skepticism towards misinformation and false narratives, making individuals less susceptible to the spirit's deceptive tactics. Next is to build supportive networks. So, having a good support system aligns with, again, resisting the isolation tactics of the Jezebelian spirit. So, if we trust our friends or confidants, that they can help to validate experiences, gain perspective, and receive support when dealing with manipulative individuals. So we're going to look at some more healing and recovery. So empowerment through education. So educating individuals about this manipulation, psychological abuse empowers them to recognize and counter a religious spirit's tactics. This education provides tools to safeguard against manipulation and control. Cultivating self-awareness to resist the Jezebelian spirit. Developing self-awareness aids in recognizing vulnerabilities that manipulative individuals embodying a Jezebelian spirit might exploit. Strengthening self-awareness fortifies individuals against these tactics. So next, you want to practice assertiveness and communication to counter the spirit. So here, having effective communication skills are going to counter them, and these skills aid in setting boundaries, expressing oneself confidently, and resisting attempts to control, or excuse me, resisting attempts at control. Creating a culture of accountability to resist the Jezebelian spirit. So, promoting a culture of accountability within communities or organizations discourages manipulative behaviors characteristic of a Jezebelian spirit. Accountability and transparency help prevent manipulation and control tactics from proliferating. In essence, the strategies for resistance and healing directly encounter the manipulative, controlling, and exploitative behaviors associated with the Jezebelian spirit. These approaches empower individuals and communities to recognize, resist, and recover from the damaging impact of manipulation and control tactics such spirits employ. So let's consider a scenario involving a man because men and women alike can have a Jezebelian spirit, as I said earlier. So for this example, let's refer to the examples as Tucker. So Tucker embodies traits reminiscent of modern-day Jezebelian spirit. So Tucker is known for his magnetic charisma and ability to sway opinions in social setting or a community organization. He positions himself as a leader, often taking charge in discussions and decision-making processes. Behind the charm, however, lies a pattern of manipulation and control. So he subtly undermines those who challenge his ideas, employing tactics like gaslighting by dismissing their contributions or subtly twisting facts to make others doubt their perspectives. He strategically forms alliances with select individuals, using them as pawns to bolster his influence while isolating or discrediting dissenters. Tucker seeks positions of authority or influence within the community, exploiting hierarchical structures to consolidate his power. He exerts control by spreading rumors or planting mistrust among members, fostering a control of division and discord. So his actions align directly with the traits of the Jezebelian spirit in how he manipulates, controls, and fosters division within the community. Despite his outward charm and leadership facade, Tucker's behaviors reveal a calculated intent to maintain dominance and control, often at the expense of community harmony cohesion. Recognizing these consistent manipulative behaviors and their impact on group dynamics helps identify the presence of modern day Jezebelian spirit embodied by Tucker. Right, so that's great. But let me provide another example of the Jezebelian spirit within a marriage. So, a Jezebelian spirit embodied by, we're going to say the wife this time, just to switch things up. So, the wife might involve subtle yet pervasive manipulation tactics and control, impacting the husband's well being and dynamics within the relationship. So, consider a scenario where the wife, let's call her Emily, exhibits traits reminiscent of a Jezebelian spirit. Emily is a charming, outwardly loving, but she wields subtle manipulation behind closed doors to maintain control over her husband, Mark. She dictates decisions, often portraying them as for the family's benefit, yet they primarily serve her desires and ambitions. Emily consistently undermines Mark's opinions or decisions using tactics like gaslighting to make him doubt his judgment. She strategically isolates him from his support network, subtly discrediting his friends and family to maintain her dominance in their relationship. Moreover, Emily controls the narrative within the household, creating an environment where Mark feels he must constantly appease her to avoid conflict. She leverages emotional blackmail or guilt tripping to ensure compliance with her wishes, therefore limiting Mark's independence and autonomy within the marriage. Despite Mark's efforts to communicate and assert his needs, Emily dismisses his concerns and needs, portraying herself as the victim and deflecting the blame. Her manipulative behaviors create a toxic environment, eroding trust and fostering emotional turmoil for Mark within the marriage. This scenario illustrates a modern day manifestation of the Jezebelian spirit within a marriage, where the husband experiences manipulation, control, and emotional manipulation from his wife. Identifying these consistent patterns of subtle control and manipulation is crucial in recognizing the presence of the Jezebelian spirit within intimate relations and addressing the imbalanced power dynamics within the marriage. So I've also seen within relationships, uh, also seen a couple marriages now that the Jezebelian spirit, uh, whether it be a man or a woman, the person that the spirit is upon, that person will often have their spouse distance themselves from their friends and family, and then also that person starts to become physically unwell. And I don't mean in the sense of them getting sick. I mean in terms of their just physical health. I've seen some people gain weight because of all the stress and emotional, uh, well, you know, the emotional abuse that they endure. So it's not just all on the victim. There are signs, and understanding some of these signs is yet another key. So, understanding these intricate complexities of a Jezebelian spirit and its pervasive impact on various life factors, it becomes apparent that the path to healing and overcoming its influence is multi layered. So, as we've explored these behaviors, characteristics, and their effects, the journey towards defending against and ultimately being triumphant over a Jezebelian spirit is the vital next step. So, we're going to go into how to guard against all of this. So, really, life's a battlefield, and in this battlefield, adversaries often come cloaked in subtlety, wielding manipulative powers that threaten one's sovereignty. So, this journey is a quest for vigilance and relentless pursuit to fortify our defenses against the Jezebelian spirit. So, in this relentless battle, the pervasive influence of the Jezebelian spirit arming oneself is just becomes practical, or excuse me, a practical strategy uh, becomes imperative. So, first and foremost, cultivating self awareness stands at a formidable defense. And as I said earlier, that's why we need to learn to recognize this Jezebelian spirit. So, and then also establishing boundaries. And these boundaries shield against invasive tendencies, safeguarding one's emotional and mental sanctity. Seeking a support network of trusted allies and mentors serves as reinforcement, a stronghold in times of vulnerability. Furthermore, honing the skill of discernment emerges as a vital weapon, allowing one to sift through deceit and manipulation. So, embracing empowerment through knowledge and education fortifies the spirit, enabling it to stand stubborn against the winds of manipulation and control. And let me clarify, it enforces our spirit against the Jezebelian spirit. So, another crucial strategy in fortifying defenses against this Jezebelian spirit involves cultivating emotional resilience. So, building inner strength and resilience serves as a bulwark against emotional manipulation and gaslighting tactics often employed. This resilience isn't just about enduring, but actively thriving in the face of adversity, nurturing emotional stability that remains impervious to attempts at destabilization. Moreover, for fostering a strong sense of self worth and confidence is a potent antidote, rendering one less susceptible to the spirit's attempts to undermine one's values and autonomy. Because the Jezebelian spirit's going to be relentless, and they're just going to keep coming. So that's why you need to build that resilience. And they're going to keep coming until they're out of your life. So practicing assertiveness emerges as a potent tool against the Jezebelian spirit's maneuvers. So assertiveness isn't aggression. Let me be perfectly clear. It's a steadfast assertion is one's needs, thoughts, and boundaries without capitalization. Excuse me, without capitulation. Wow. Okay. It directly counters the spirit's attempts at manipulation, firmly establishing individual agency and autonomy. Additionally, engaging in regular self care rituals becomes a bastion of defense. Nurturing one's physical, mental, and emotional well being fortifies resilience, creating a barrier against the spirit's attempts to exploit vulnerabilities born from neglect or exhaustion. So, understanding the power dynamics and fostering a healthy understanding of leadership and influence constitutes another effective strategy. So, by discerning between authentic, empowering leadership and the manipulative control, individuals can immunize themselves against falling prey to a false allure of the latter. So this involves cultivating a culture of accountability, transparency, and healthy communication within personal and professional spheres. It bolsters immunity against the fraud and divisiveness often sown by the Jezebelian spirit, fostering environments inhospitable to its influence. So building resilience involves the multifaceted approach encompassing emotional, mental, and physical aspects. Additionally, building social resilience acts as a power buffer against the Jezebelian spirit's isolating influence. Cultivating and nurturing meaningful relationships within a supportive network provides a safety net during tumultuous times. These relationships offer emotional support, differing perspectives, and shared experiences, reinforcing resilience. So it's a testament to the power of unity, a vow to fortify mental and emotional defenses, against the spirit's insidious tactics. Triumphant defense isn't merely resistance and an unwavering refusal to bow down to fear or manipulation. It embodies a spirit of resilience and empowerment, a relentless stance that challenges the essence of the spirit's control. All right, so we're going to look at the last section here of forgiving the Jezebelian inhabited. So Plato, he is the venerable philosopher of ancient Greece, immersed himself in the depths of moral philosophy, meticulously navigating the intricate facets of forgiveness embedded within the human psyche. His profound treatise, The Republic, presents a nuanced perspective on forgiveness, interweaving the tapestries of justice, virtue, and the soul essence. Plato's stance transcends the mere dismissal of wrongdoing. He views forgiveness as a profound moral and psychological phenomenon with the transformative capabilities. To Plato, forgiveness isn't solely about absolution. It's a potent force essential for the harmony of the individual soul and society. So, an iconic figure in ancient philosophy is, or at least another one, is Socrates. He ventured into the intricacies of the human morality and ethics. So, through his direct writings, um, so, excuse me, Socrates' writings are a little bit scarce, but his teachings passed down through dialogues of his disciple Plato echoed profound insights into the nature of forgiveness. So he approached forgiveness deeply rooted in the self-reflection and moral virtue offers a unique perspective on our ongoing exploration within the realm of the Jezebelian spirit. So the Bible is a profound repository of teachings on forgiveness, illuminating its essence and cornerstone of faith and moral conduct. Throughout its scriptures, forgiveness emerges as a transformative act, a divine offering, and an extended to sorry, it's a divine offering extended to humanity, exemplified through narratives, parables, and teachings. From Genesis to Revelation, forgiveness weaves a thread that intertwines with themes of redemption, mercy, and divine love, offering guidance and solace to those seeking spiritual emancipation. We can look at Genesis, the story of Joseph, and how he forgave his brothers. And his act of forgiveness reconciled a fractured family and becomes a testament to divine providence and the power of forgiveness to heal deep wounds. The teachings of Jesus Christ in the New Testament echo a transformative nature of forgiveness. The Lord's Prayer, it's a foundational Christian prayer, excuse me. So it implores believers to forgive as they seek forgiveness. So the biblical foundation of forgiveness serves as a guiding light in our explanation of extending forgiveness within the realm of the Jezebelian spirit. The Apostle Paul, in his epistles, steeped in the teachings of Jesus Christ, underscore forgiveness as a unifying force within the body of believers. So, in the journey to comprehend and extend forgiveness within the context of the Jezebelian spirit, we've looked at the annals of philosophy, drawn wisdom from ancient teachings, and embraced the transformative narratives woven within the scripture. So this expedition has illuminated forgiveness as an act and an ethos, a profound testament to human resilience, divine grace, and enduring power to transcend adversity. As you stand at this concluding juncture, poised on the precipice of extending forgiveness, let's carry forth the wisdom of Scripture and the divine narratives of reconciliation. So, next, we're going to look at what the Ahab spirit is, as well as the Elijah spirit, that which Ahab and Elijah were also mentioned. So, this is FPP. Please comment, like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Thank you.